How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf. Wait, what? No. Yeah. Okay. What? Where are we? Oh, did I do? Yeah. Daf Nun Zayin of Masechta BavaBasra, friends. All right. Well, we're doing another Mishnah. I think this should be a quick one, eh? I think it should be a quick one. All right. It says the Mishnah. Elu dvarim sheish lohen chazokeh. So the following things you can do to make a chazaka, right? So, meaning going back to the OG chazaka from the beginning of Chezkas Abatim Chevra, we're like basically at the end of Chezkas Abatim. After today's daf, you have 3 more daf from Chezkas Abatim. It was a big parak, it was 30 pages, a little bit more. So it's a big parak, an important parak. We're right at the end here. So going back to the original chazaka that we were talking about at the beginning of Chezkas Abatim, the one about in lieu of a shtar, the 3-year right, that if you're someplace for 3 years. So what kind of activities would constitute a chazaka? That if you did this for 3 years, so then it counts as a chazaka. So these are things that have a chazaka. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, 1 second. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So these are the kinds of things, the following things, if you do them for 3 years, then you can use it at, it can serve as a chazaka. The following things, if you did them for 3 years, and you say, well, it's mine, I bought it from you, and I did the following activity for 3 years, and you never said anything, it won't be a chazaka. So if you simply just had an animal that was standing around in a chotzer, or you have an oven there, or a hand mill, or a kirayim, a stove, umigadel tarnagolim, or if you're raising chickens, you're putting the chicken manure in the chotzer. Ein a chazaka. These are things that would not make a chazaka. Also mechitza levemto gavoa asar tfachim. But if he makes a mechitza, if he makes a partition in a wall surrounding the animal, an area for his animal, he makes a wall that's 10 tfachim tall in the chotzer, v'chein l'soner, v'chein l'chayim, v'chein l'chayim, or he makes a wall for around his oven or stove or hand mill. If he brings chickens into the house, or if he makes an area for the manure 3 tvachim deep, or 3 tvachim high, like on a mound, 3 tvachim, then that would constitute a chazaka. Okay, fine. So the first things listed in the Mishnah would not be enough of like a thingy to constitute a chazaka, meaning, the original owner would see that this guy, right, let's say Shimon, the original owner, is seeing that Reuven is doing these activities, and in the ratio, it wouldn't be, the fact that he didn't say, hey, what are you doing, it doesn't really mean that much. But in the Seifa, things got he's putting up walls and things, well then, Shimon should have certainly said, what are you doing? And since he didn't, it's an indication that we can believe Reuven that he in fact bought it from Shimon, and he'd been doing these activities for 3 years, and therefore it's his Reuven's. Okay. So certain activities can make a chazaka, certain activities cannot. Mashna ratio, mashna seifa. Now what's the difference, be'etzem, between the activities listed in the ratio and the activities listed in the seifa? How come the first activities wouldn't constitute a chazaka, but the latter activities would constitute a chazaka? So Amar Ula says, Ula kol she'ilu b'nichse ager, Kono, so Ula wants to make like a bridge in a certain way between the chazaka that makes a kinyan, benichse ager, and the chazaka that works as in lieu of a shtar. That if you say, I've been doing this thing for 3 years and you never said anything, and I bought it from you, and I've been doing the following activity for this activity for 3 years and you never said anything. So he wants to make a bridge that the same types of activities that would constitute a kinyan by nichse ager are the types of activities that if you do them for 3 years and you make a claim that Reuven makes a claim that he purchased the property from Shimon and he's been doing this thing for 3 years, so that would be a chazaka. So again, Mashna Reish. So for example, right, putting up a wall. Putting up a wall is the kind of thing. If you put up a wall in no gadol ufarat, so you put up a wall in nichse ager, so then you would be kona the property of the ger. And here also, you put up a fence in the chutzner, so then if it was there for 3 years, then you can claim that that it's yours and that you've been there for 3 years and you had this wall there for 3 years. Okay. So again, Amar Ula says, Ula koshilu b'nichse ager kono. Anything that were you to do it by nichse ager, you would be kone. Well then, b'nichse chavero, if you do this in another person's property, kono, you can make the claim that zabanta minoch v'chalta shnei chazaka, or whatever. I did this activity for the shnei chazaka, and it would be yours. It would, we would assume that it's yours. Kol she'ilu b'nichse ager lo kono. But things that if you do by nichse ager, it would not make a kinyan. For example, if you just put your animals in there, so then it wouldn't make a kinyan. So then, b'nichse chaver nami lo kono, so also by your friend's property, you would be unable to make it would not work as a chazaka, like a 3-year chazaka. Maskif lo Rav Sheshes, but Rav Sheshes says, ula, come on, there's some trouble there with that opinion. Is this really like a general rule? What about near? Remember near? Near is like a plowing that you would do. Okay, let me see. I'm not a farmer, but so let me see what I can muster together with my non-farming farming knowledge. Okay, so you would plant the seeds, I guess, like at the beginning of the winter. I don't know, maybe like maybe like after Sukkot, let's say, you would plant the seeds maybe. We also saw an opinion that it was possible to, remember there's an opinion you can make a chazaka by planting it earlier. Anyways, but I guess you plant around Sukkot time, I imagine. Okay, like the beginning of the rainy season around. That kind of tkufa. But apparently you would also plow, so when you plant, you would also plow, right? You plow the field and then you put in the seeds. And then I guess you water it and you daven to Hashem. Okay. So that would be like around winter time. But already, I think like in the summer or something, earlier, you would plow oichit, even though you weren't going to plant yet, but you would plow just to kind of break up the ground so that later on, when you do your plow and plant, it'll just be, the field will already be in better shape. So that's what near is. Near is plowing, not, right, but separate from planting, right? You plow when you plant, but also you could do a separate plow just to kind of, make the land a little bit softer. So that later when you do the plow plant, it's in a better position. Okay. So Maskevlo of Sheshes, so if Sheshes Asakashan Ula is what you're saying a general rule that the kinds of chazakas that would make a kinyan by nichse ager are the kinds of things that you would have to do in order to establish a 3-year chazaka? Very near. But what about this plowing that is not in the context of planting? That we said that it would not make a chazaka it would not make a 3-year chazaka because Shimon sees that Reuven is plowing his field for him. He's not planting it; he's just plowing it in the middle of the summer. And Shimon's like, "Wow, thanks, Reuven," but he's not planting the field. He's not eating from the field. So that would not make a chazaka, a 3-year chazaka. But the benichse ager kono, benichse chaver lo kono. But by nichse ager, it would work because you're improving the land. So you make a chazaka because you make a kinyan chazaka by improving the land. And yet, by a 3-year chazaka, it would not work. And what about eating fruits? That by a 3-year chazaka, that would be valid, right? Shimon would not allow Reuven to eat the fruits of his field and not say anything. And for the fact that he didn't say anything, it means that Reuven in fact bought it. But by nichse ager, that would not make a kinyan because you're not improving the land in any way by eating the fruits. That by the property of by b'nichse chavero, by like a 3-year chazaka, it would be a proper kinyan. But b'nichse ager lo kono. But by nichse ager, but by making a kinyan on the nichse ager, it's not a kinyan. because you're not improving it anyway. So Elo Amar Rav Nachman Amar Rav Bavua, rather says Rav Nachman, says Rav Bavua, Hacha b'chotzer hashutfin oskinon. Okay, here in our Mishnah, we are talking about a chotzer hashutfin. So we're not talking about, Reuven's claiming that Shimon sold him his field and he's been there for 3 years. No, it's not talking about it. It's talking about specifically a chotzer that is owned by partners. Reuven and Shimon are partners in a chotzer. So hacha b'chotzer hashutfin askin. Here we're talking about partners in a chotzer. Di ba'amoda k'di lo kapte amechitza kapte. We're talking about partners. Reuven and Shimon jointly own the chotzer. So in that case, for Reuven to keep his animal there, standing there, Shimon doesn't really care that much. But for Reuven to start constructing walls in the chotzer, Shimon does care. So therefore, putting the animals, having the animals stand around in the chotzer would not be a kinyan. Would not make a chazakah. But putting up walls in the chotzer would make a chazakah. So the Amada Kedi lo kapte amechitza kapte. V'amada Kedi lo kapte. But wait, is that really true? That Shimon doesn't care if Reuven just kind of stands in his chotzer, or his animal standing in his chotzer, or him standing in his chotzer. V'atnan, we learn in a Mishnah in Nedarim, hashutfin she'nodru ano zeh mizeh, that if you have two partners, Reuven and Shimon jointly own the chotzer, and they make a neder that they are not going to get any benefit from one another. Well, if that's the case, then they can't go into the chotzer, they can't even stand in the chotzer. So clearly, standing in a chotzer is significant enough that it would be considered benefiting from the chotzer, so that if you're mudar ano, you can't, right? If the two partners are mudar ano from one another, they wouldn't be able to stand in the chotzer. And I guess the idea is that if a person standing in the chotzer is a problem, certainly an animal standing around in the chotzer would be a problem. I assume that's the idea. So assume the kanis the chotzer, so they can't go into the chotzer. So clearly, standing is like a thing. So what do you mean? That just by standing around, your animal standing there, Shimon doesn't care. I mean, from the fact that if you're mudar ano, you can't stand in a chotzer of the person you're mudar ano from, clearly standing is something significant. Elo Amar of Nachman Amar Rav Bavua, rather says Nachman Amar Rav Bavua, hacha b'rechava shel achorei bot maskinon. Well, here we're talking about not like the chotzer in the front, but like the backyard kind of thing, the chotzer out back. So dafka, because it's the chotzer out back, tibamod k'di lo kapte v'mechitza kapte. That dafka, because we're talking about the backyard, so there Shimon doesn't really care as much, and if Reuven keeps his animals there, Shimon doesn't really care. But it is not Reuven can't make a chazakah that way. Rav Papa Omar says, Rav Papa, wait 1 second. Okay. Alright, fine. Rav Papa Omar says, Rav Papa, Idi v'idi b'chotzer shutfin. No. It's not talking about a backyard. No. It's talking about the chotzer, right? Reuven and Shimon jointly on the chotzer. V'ika de kapde, v'ika de lo kapde. And look, some people don't like when other people are standing around in their chotzer, and it'll be a problem. Some people don't really care. So therefore, gabi mamona lekula, gabi isur lechumra. So therefore, like by a neder, right? If Reuven and Shimon said that they're not going to get enough from one another, well, then we have to buy. Right, it's an isur. So there we have to be stringent, and we have to assume that they are the type of people that would be makbid about other people standing around in their chotzer. So therefore, they can't go into the chotzer. But by mamona, such as making a chazakah, so then we would assume that Shimon is more chilled out, and he doesn't care if Reuven puts his animals in the chotzer, and therefore he can't make a chazakah that way. All right. Ravina Amar says, Ravina lo olam lo kapte. No, in general they are not makbid. Nobody cares if you stand around in the chotzer. V'ha mani Rabbi Eliezer he. But the Mishnah in Nedarim that says that if the two partners are not going to get hana from one another, then they cannot go into the chutzner. That's specifically Rabbi Eliezer's opinion. The Tanya that we learned in the Brayso, Rabbi Eliezer Omer says, Rabbi Eliezer, afilu vitter aser b'mudar hana. That Rabbi Eliezer says that even that if you're mudar hana from somebody, even if it's something that that they don't care about, right? That the Rashbam gives an example of somebody says he's not going to get any benefit from the store owner, and then you go and you buy something from the store and he throws in a little bit extra, even though the store owner doesn't care. He's just throwing it in. You purchase there, he's throwing in a little shtickle extra. Still, you can't get that benefit, and therefore Rabbi Eliezer says, so that is why. So the Mishnah in Nedarim, which says that Reuven and Shimon, who said they're not going to get benefit from one another, so they can't even go into the chutzner, is because even though standing around is not something that people are generally makbid on, Rabbi Eliezer says that even those things are also by a mudar hana. Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbana. Now we're going to be getting into some Rabbana stuff a little bit right now, but tomorrow there's going to be a whole shtickle Torah on Rabbana. Givaldik. So, Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbana, name Rabbana, Bakol Shutvin Me'akvin Ze'es Ze, Chutz Min HaKvisa. So, by all things, partners can say, hey, I don't want you doing that in the chutzner. Okay, so if Reuven and Shimon join there on the chutzner, Shimon can say to Reuven, hey, Reuven, I don't want you doing that in our chutzner. But Chutz Min HaKvisa, except for doing laundry. That if Reuven's wife or his daughters are doing laundry in the chutzner, so then Shimon can't say anything. Shein Darkan Shabbanos Yisrael is Bazus ala Kvisa, because the Jewish girls don't like to go to the river or the sea, whatever it is, to do the laundry, because then they have to roll up their they have to roll up their clothing, right, just so that they could stand in the river, and it's lo naim for them to be in public like that. So therefore, they would prefer to do the laundry in the chatzer, and therefore Shimon can't say anything. So in Yeshaya, it's describing somebody who's considered righteous, and it says somebody who closes his eyes from gazing at evil. This refers to somebody who does not look at women while they are doing laundry, I guess, in the river. Now, what's the context here? Well, if there was another way that this person could have gone and avoided altogether seeing the women washing the clothing in the river, well, then say, oh wow, he's a big tzaddik, he turned away. He shouldn't have been in the first place. And if he did, when there was an alternate route, then he's a rasha. And if that was the only way to go, there was no alternate route, well, anasu, then even if he, there was no way about it. That was the only way to go. So the olam deleka daka achrisa is talking about where there was no other way to go, but but still, he should force himself to look the other way. And I guess one who does that is considered righteous. Tell me about the cloak, I guess, of a Talmud Chacham, the tunic, I think, of a Talmud Chacham, that you can't see anything under it. It's like a tunic that goes all the way down to the ground, you can't even see his feet. And what about the cloak of a Talmud Chacham? That you can't see the tunic underneath the cloak. Tefach. Shulchan Talmud Chacham Ketzad. Tell me about the table of a Talmud Chacham. Shnei shlishe gdil v'shlish giloi. Interesting. The table of a Talmud Chacham, so they would sit on one side of the table, and then the first 2/3 of the table would be covered by a tablecloth, and then the final third of the table would not have a tablecloth. Okay. Okay, and that's where they would put the dishes and the vegetables and stuff on the third that didn't have the tablecloth. Because they'd use the tablecloth as a napkin or something, so you didn't want the tablecloth to get dirty with the food. I don't know. Okay. And their tables would have a hook on them. I guess you'd be able to hang it out that way or something. So the question is the hook on the part that's closer to the diner or on the part that is or on the opposite side of the table? So it says that the ring would be on the outside of the table, not the part facing the diner. But we have a brayta that says that the ring is on the inside. Lokash, it's no problem. It depends if there's a baby or not. If there's a baby dining, well then don't keep the hook over there because the baby's gonna play with it, bump into it, whatever. So put it on the outside. But if there's no baby there, well then put the hook on the inside near the diner so that the waiter who's there doesn't have to watch out for it. Alternatively, in both cases, talking about there is no baby there, but velokasha deika shama. It depends if there's a waiter or not. If there's a waiter, well then put the ring on the inside so it doesn't bump into it. If there's no waiter, so then put the ring on the outside because there's no waiter to bump into it. Velokash, okay. Where am I? Alternatively, deika shama that. No, we could be talking about where there is a waiter. Velokasha or bimama balelia. It depends if it's during the day or during the night. During the day, where the waiter can watch out for the ring, so put the ring on the outside away from the diner. During the night, where the waiter can't see the ring, so put the ring closer to the diner. V'shalam haaretz dome limedura v'kederus mukafos osa. And the table of an am haaretz is like a bonfire. There's like a fire pit where there's like pots and stuff like around it, meaning his tablecloth is in the middle of the table, and then they would have like all the food and stuff around it, I guess. Alright. Mita shetamidei chacham ketzad tell me about the bed of a Talmid Chacham. Kol she'ein tachtea ela sandalim b'mosachama u'minolim b'mosach shamim. Basically, the bed of a Talmid Chacham should have underneath it only, like boots during the summer and sandals during the winter. Ki'ilu, the shoes that he's not wearing, put under the bed, but that's it. There shouldn't be anything else under there. Shalam haaretz dome laotzer balus. And the bed of a Talmid Chacham of an am haaretz is like a kind of like a storage space filled with a bunch of stuff. All right. That was Daf Nun Zayin of BavaBasra. Hope you enjoy. Peace out.